Thank you for joining us here on the National Communications Network. I'm your host, Juan Gill, as we continue to have these interviews and discussions surrounding the fourth anniversary of the People's Progressive Party civic government in office under the theme The Journey to Prosperity for All. In studio, I have with me the Minister of Public Works, Bishop Juan Edghill. Minister Edghill, thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure to be here and greetings to your viewers and listeners.
Minister Edghill, let's start off this way. The government, the Irfan Ali-led administration, entered office in 2020. You assumed the Ministry of Public Works as the minister shortly after August 2. Tell us, what was the state, not only of that ministry, but public infrastructure upon your assumption of office?
The correct way for me to begin today would be to congratulate Team PPPC, President Irfan Ali, Vice President Dr. Barjak Dio, our Prime Minister, and all members of the Cabinet, and all members of that team that did not become members of the Cabinet. Their resilience, their fortitude, their willingness to stay the course in very troubling times is something that is to be admired. The leadership that was provided during that COVID environment, while we were still battling to ensure we get accurate results, ensuring the safety of the nation from opposition, because we were not yet in government. And when we took government, to rapidly transform that environment and to see it go forth. I was sworn in as the Minister of Public Works by President Ali, and I immediately proceeded to then what was known as the Ministry of Public Infrastructure. When I got there, the place was tense. The then permanent secretary was not in country. The staff was very uncertain about what would happen. But from day one, I said to them, the development agenda of Guyana is my number one priority. Minister Indar, who is my colleague, the minister within the Ministry of Public Works, was with me, and I told them this ministry would only have two politicians, the senior minister and my colleague, Minister Indar. Everybody else should be professionals. And I jokingly said to them, I would not share any political space with any of you. So let me do the politics. I want you to do your work professionally. So in that brief that I received today, it spoke about the chaos that this country was in. And it was clear that even though we had a mandate from the people, we had commitments that we made during the campaign, which we call our manifesto, and once we got into government became our social contract. We had to deal with the development deficit. We had to deal with things that were not moving. I can give you one quick example. Sheriff Mandela was under construction.
Yep.
The project was shut down, not because of COVID, but because of safety concerns. It's an IDB funded program. We had to get that going again. The Demerara Harbor Bridge was suffering from lack of maintenance and real trouble. The ferries were in bad shape. They had not been dry docked and taken care of for long periods. Roads were practically non-existent. The city fences were in shambles. As a matter of fact, we had to go and do emergency work at Danzig immediately after coming into office. So the airport was shut because of COVID. Of course, you will recall the leadership of President Ali led for us to be the first country in the Caribbean to reopen the airport after we got into office. So we had things that we promised the people that we had to do. But we had to fix things that were not in place. One of the things we had to fix, number one, is to bring back professionalism to the surface, to keep the politics out. It was in that period many people came to us and said, I was promised a house lot and I got this commitment, and because it was clear that once the no confidence motion was passed, and we were now sure that we were going to an election, even with all the delays of the year plus several months to get to an election, those who were in government started to galvanize mechanisms within the various agencies to help them to cross the line for political power. And there were many persons who were uncomfortable with those maneuverings and those, what I would want to use, I have to remember I'm not in Parliament, but I could use terms and say like fancy footworks and fandangling.
Yeah.
Some of you younger people go and Google that now. What is fandangling?
Yeah.
So it was in a bad state. Mm-hmm. We had to lift the consciousness of our people. We had to bring them back into teamwork. Mm-hmm. We had to revive professionalism. And we had to lift the level of execution. With all the work that the Ministry of Public Works is doing, and I'm sure that the opposition, then government in 2020 would be afraid to let us discuss this. It's the same team, the same engineers. We probably would have hired a few more to replace some who went. Mm-hmm. We put in some more clerk of works, but basically it's the same team that underperformed is now performing, and performing in some ways optimally as against the suboptimal performance that we got before. Mm-hmm. We had to make some changes. Marad was in shambles. The money of Marad was like if it was the personal bank account of the then ministers. You know the story of the Demerara Harbor Bridge. Money is being used to buy expensive bracelets, almost going to $1 million. Transport and harbors, while it was bleeding, money is being used to do things that were not necessary. Priorities were misplaced, and people's lives were in jeopardy. The GCAA, for the first time, when we left government in 2015, had more than $1 billion in their account. In the first emergency budget, which I had the honor of presenting to the National Assembly, we had to give GCAA monies from the consolidated fund to keep them afloat. $1 billion plus in a reserve was disappeared. When we look at the state of play in a lot of the other things that were happening, the Special Projects Unit was just a group of men hanging around doing knick-knack jobs. Mm-hmm. Now the Special Projects Unit is a vibrant, powerful team that goes into communities and finishes all the roads in Albistown and going into Queenstown and Albertown, finish all the roads, going to Kingston, finish all the roads, going to East and West Wrongville, and in a matter of days, they're out. I went to Durban Backlands just the other day. They finish all the roads in Durban Backlands coming into the main section of Lodge. Mm-hmm. Men out there, same people who were there before, but the energy and the drive and the motivation to see development. These are the men and women who have done so much work that people are describing Guyana now as a country in a hurry. Guyana is a country in a hurry. That's the description you're hearing from people. Yeah. So we had that sinking state, delay, disrepair, damage. So we had to fix and then implement new.
Yeah. Minister Edghill, I want to ask you and take you back a little bit to what you mentioned about the social contract that was established between of course, the government and the people of Guyana. And in that social contract, there was a heavy and intense focus on infrastructure development. And I don't think many people can disagree with the fact that that is here, and we can see that. But can you remind us why that has played such a big and pivotal role in the government's focus over the last 4 years?
I can just give you a few examples. Look at what happens at the Demerara Harbor Bridge, the current Demerara Harbor Bridge. The traffic flows, the hours of commute, the inconvenience. And we said in that social contract we are building out a new bridge. I don't think anybody's asking where is the bridge. They're not asking when it will be completed. March 31st, 2025. So, answering that question, you're seeing the active construction. You interview the people of Region 3, and they will tell you what a big difference that would make in their lives. The expansion of road networks. One of the first projects that we got in and had to complete, that was leaving behind, was the, what do you call the name of that street? When you come off of the East Bank, by DSL going into All Boys Town, I'm trying to remember the name. Sorry, I don't remember the name of that street. That was in a state of disrepair. We had to go and fix it because the congestion of the traffic when you come off the East Bank, there was no outlet to get through there. I think it's Hunter Street. Hunter Street it is called. And we did that and made it into a 3-lane street. So at particular times, 2 lanes could be heading north, and another time 2 lanes could be heading south, depending on the time of day. When that street was completed, I couldn't imagine how appreciative people were. People were calling. The guys worked on a Good Friday to fix one of the culverts because they understood the need. We were just trying to get it done. Let's get it fixed. But the people, the felt needs of the people was what mattered, and the responses that were coming from the people. So when we talk about the 4,000 plus community roads that have been done, the development that is being done in the hinterland regions, the repairs of all, well, I could say the rebuilding of all the bridges across the Linden-Lethem Road, the people in Linden having a 4-lane bridge across the Mackenzie-Wisma shore, moving from that 1 lane that is really backing up the traffic there every day. The felt needs of the people, getting the Linden-Mabura Road going, expanding lanes on the East Coast, getting the Sheriff to Mahaika corridor put in place into 4 lanes. Of course, the opening up of Heroes Highways, which is like, praise the Lord, hallelujah, for so many people. When we think about the things that were done, I could give you a little joke, but it's real, and the people must understand where we were. When we got into government, some truck broke Sussex Street Bridge. The bridge at Sussex Street, and I think it's Princess or something like that.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry, Sussex Street, the bridge that joins it to get into All Boys Town, getting my locations in trouble. I couldn't imagine people were saying to us as a government column minister, you got to fix the bridge. The city council won't do anything. Of course, up until now, they don't do anything. And that's one of the things we have to fix in Guyana. The mayor and city council has thrown back in arms. They're now writing me and asking me to clean the cemetery. People pay for plots of land in the cemetery, and the city council is writing now asking us to clean the cemetery because they don't do anything. Government intervened, and when we fix that bridge, the felt needs of the people, the appreciation, thank you. We couldn't imagine how important this simple piece of infrastructure was to the people. President Ali and VP Jagdeo provided leadership in Guyana's infrastructural development in very remarkable ways. I know they could have been busy with many other things, but they paid attention to ensure the resources we needed, the engagement with the communities that were needed to make sure people understand what we're doing, working through with the various contractors in a collective to ensure we get things moving. And I think as we celebrate our 4th anniversary, if we're going to talk about infrastructural development, we must take a moment to applaud the visionary, strong leadership from both President Ali and VP Jack Dio. My colleague, Minister Indar, who works with me in the ministry, must also be singled out for his own activism. A young man is trying to get a lot of things done, and we appreciate his efforts as well. The team there, but it's just a phenomenal. I'm looking here 4 years later. People start taking things for granted. And that's a problem we have again, we forget. When the road is bad, I remember when we were dealing with Sheriff Mandela, people start saying, the abortion road, the abortion road, the abortion road. When we were able to get that fixed, everybody just stood in there, hey, Edghill, hey! They forgot the criticisms of the abortion road, and they will forget how Sheriff Street used to look, how Mandela used to look, and how now you could move 7 kilometers in just a few moments. The traffic controls, the security mechanisms of the cyclists, the opportunities for pedestrians to be safer while using the roads. Sometimes we forget, but a lot have been done. A lot have been done.
Yeah. Minister, if I can single out one other project that I know a lot of people are hoping for, that is particularly the connection of the Edghill to Eccles Highway that has already started work. Can you tell us a little bit more about where that is and, of course, the impact that it will have on that entire area?
Well, then you're going to tempt me, because when we left government, the funding for that highway was already secured. 2 things. The new highway and the ferry. President Ramatar and now President Ali was then Minister of Housing, had engaged the Indian government, and they got in the line of credit to buy the ferry, to build, to do the new Northwest Ferry, which we have now is the MV Militia, and to get that road fixed. Nothing was done. In the first weeks of resuming government, we were able to get the Indian High Commissioner. President Ali led from the front. We engaged. And the reality is, MV Militia is sailing. And the highway from Edghill to Eccles, which is the first phase of linking Edghill to Tamiri, is going to be completing soon. As a matter of fact, there's traffic congestion, and people are complaining right now because of construction work that is taking place on the Edghill main road with the railway embankment as well as the public road. But there was congestion for a few days. Pardon our appearance. We are a country under construction. Sooner or later, people will start reaping the benefits of that and the connectivity. We are coming in from Higgs Bosch, which is the Baggles Tongue Road, all the way to connect. So that will be a connector. So when you come around, you could come out at Higgs Bosch. There's another connector that is at Red Road that is being developed, and people will be able to go on and on and on and on. But that's progressing well, and I need to say that out of the many major infrastructural projects, that is one that is pretty much on schedule with minimum delays. It's an excellent team that is working out there, and they're getting the work done.
Yeah. Minister, one of the criticisms that has maybe plagued the administration for the last 4 years, particularly in reference to the infrastructure work that is being ongoing, is the idea that somehow, or the reality, I guess, that roads can't be eaten. And you hear that a lot in different sections of society. Again, can you lay that to rest and explain why these roads are being done?
Just to remind you what I said in the National Assembly, roads can be eaten, but roads make you eat. When we put $1 billion into development at number 58 on the quarantine, and we build a bridge across the various canals that were there, heading towards the Kanji Creek, that one road opened up more than 10,000 acres of land that was not before accessible. What that one farm to market access road is doing, making people eat. We committed that we will do the road from Sand Hills to Bartica, and we'll do the road from Parika to Goshen. The good news, the alignment for those roads are already open. You could practically drive. It's not yet at the level of asphalted concrete, but you could practically drive Sand Hills, getting all the way out to Falmouth. I've done it myself, so I could talk about it. We're now getting ready to put the bridge across the Macawa Creek in the alignment Parika-Goshen. You know why we're doing that? Lands for agriculture. People are eating. When you go to the Molson Creek end, we've pushed the road from Molson Creek going all the way into El Dorado. You know why we're doing that? Building roads so that people can eat. You cannot eat the roads, but you could eat because the road is there. Lands are being opened up. New avenues are being opened up. When we repair the city fences and we prevent the saline water from coming onto the soil, and farmers could farm and people could mind their ducks and their fowls and their cattle without flooding, they can eat because they are meaningfully engaged. When people can get home an hour and a half before what it used to take to get home because they have a new route, a new access. What used to take 1.5 hours is now taking 20, 25 minutes. They could get home and be more productive. Roads make people's lives easy. And we're not just talking about roads, but roads and bridges. But sometimes we only see what's happening in the coastline. Let's talk about regions 1, 7, 8, 9, and the far-flung parts of 10. Kokwani now have asphalted concrete roads, making the lives better for people. Ichuni, we have done significant work and we're coming to clean up all of that. When you deal with regions 1, villagers being able to commute, having a serious impact on the cost of living, because in those areas, if you can get food in by boat and road, it has to go in by flight. And anything that goes in by flight, the price escalates because you got to pay per pound on the plane. With those roads that have been opened up, we have brought cost of living down. People are able to manage. And people are still complaining about how cost of living is high. And think about if you had to do it without the infrastructure that is in place, what it would have been. Think about if government didn't make the necessary interventions on the stabilizing the price of fuel at the pump, what cost of living would have been like. If government didn't put in the interventions at GPL to ensure that your light bill didn't rise, even while fuel prices on the world market rose, your light bill would be much bigger. But government stepped in. Cost of living would have been higher. Your water bill would have been higher because government stepped in. Remember, with all of the things that we would have done, the Because We Care crash grant, the sled grants that have been given to people, if they didn't have these facilities, look, people could criticize, but there are things that you have to understand a man and you would admire. When we had the COVID period and we got in, one of the challenges President Ali faced is the thousands of small businesses that were affected because of the lockdown. Around every school, there's an ecosystem of small businesses. True. Because there was no school, these businesses couldn't sell. Right. Think about the hundreds of people who come out with their fish and chips and their hamburgers, and they make a living from that. So when we had to do things with COVID and the curfew, it was to ensure that people didn't stifle and die like what happened in other countries. But President Ali took the leadership, get the vaccination going. Let's open back up the country. Let's get these small businesses at work. And even when we had to realign some people because of where they were setting up, because of the road shoulders and the rest of it, it was clear we're not putting people out of economic activity. We're just making sure we put them in order. Those instructions were clear. Yeah. We will not take bread out of people's mouth, but we will actually give them an opportunity to do better. And that's what we would have done. So you can't eat roads, but roads making you eat. Yeah. Young professionals like yourself, you having a chance to eat because you could get to work, you could get home, the wear and tear on your vehicle is less. You don't have to be buying CV joints that is busted because you drop in a big hole somewhere, or you have to go and replace your front and back bumper because both were scraped off while you're trying to come out your street. Yeah. Thousands of people have benefited from the thousands of community streets that we would have done. People could go to church better. They could go to Monday or mosque better. They can get to the health center. Listen, when we went into Crabwood Creek, we literally took people out of the mud in the various grants in Crabwood Creek when we did those concrete roads. People were hugging and kissing and screaming. The mud was to their knee. And for the first time, if they were in a wheelchair, they could get all the way out. If they had to go to clinic, the car could go in and pick them up. They had a wedding, they could dress to the wedding from home and not walk in the mud. Roads, you can't eat it, but it made the lives of people better that they could eat. Look what's happened with the Linden Lethem road. The improvements that we are bringing there. People are having businesses that could carry their produce to Brazil. Great exchange in trade, keeping prices under control. The cost of fuel at Lethem has gone down because the road has improved. Remember, everything is trucking. The cost of the gold miners and the diamond miners in Madhya, because of the road that is being improved, their cost of transportation has stabilized. So their operational costs did not rise to put pressure on the markets that are around them. So the interventions of government and what we would have done, whether it's forestry, whether it's mining, whether it's in fisheries, whether it's young professionals in the public service, whether it's farmers, whether it's people who are doing other small light manufacturing, access, their ability to move, their ability to market, their ability to engage, to open up new lands. That's what we've been doing. Yeah. And of course, we got to add to that our tourism potential, because if we're going to sell tourism, we got to open up the interior. We got to fix the airstrips. We got to get the roads to the eco resorts. We got to develop the place. Look what's going on Linden-Soosdijk Highway. The Linden-Soosdijk Highway is set for reconstruction. But that place, I recall going to Linden when you wouldn't see anybody on the road for an hour or so. Anybody who wants to be objective will see the busyness, the housing, the development that is taking place there, because people understand a road is going there. The president's vision for Silicon City is unfolding, and there are things that are developing around. Look at what has happened in Parfait Harmony and Tushen and Zealot, and look what is happening in Diamond. Right now, all the streets in Diamond are under construction. The other day I was there, they started at 15th Street, going all the way down to 21st Street. Okay. The people were happy. The special projects units are in there, and they're just doing what they got to do. In Grove, we did some 21 streets just the other day. People's lives are getting better. And listen, for the young men like yourself, we going back to what we used to do. Sunday morning, we got to kick our football. we got to play on the street. Yeah. Because not everybody goes to the field. You know the excitement of street football.
I know it.
Our youths are happy. We don't need to be at war with them. It's part of our culture. We play our cricket on the street. We break a couple of windows, tell granny sorry, and we gone again.
Yeah, indeed.
You're not called police on them. This is just part of our culture. As against playing in the mud. We have literally taken people out of the mud. Mm-hmm. And I want Guyana to remember when you were in the mud before 2020, in many areas, Minister Street. You know, people telling me, no, Minister, put a speed bump. Minister, please put some street lights. Minister, them people speeding. Minister, stop the trucks from coming through. Because the new roadway build, the one broke it up. It's no longer Minister, my road. It's the next level. Yeah. Development comes in waves. And I'm sure that the people of Guyana would say they didn't expect so much to happen so quickly. And so much is happening so quickly, not just in Georgetown, but in every single region. The people of Region 10 in Linden, which largely supported the APNU, just look at the ballot boxes, they are now seeing more infrastructure development in Linden in our period than they've ever seen before. They are getting the works. Lindeners are getting the works to build these roads. So in every region. In Region 1, the people are at work. In Region 2, the people are at work. In Region 3, massive development in infrastructure. Region 4, last year we went out for 300 roads on the East Coast and another 100 roads on the East Bank. 300 plus community roads in Region 6. Another 100 for Region 5. In Bartica, all the roads are being rehabilitated. We're building up the road from the airport 4 miles coming back in. The interior roads are being upgraded. The commute is easier. The city fences are much more intact than they were before. We put in the brand new Span 9 to deal with that issue of damage to the old Demerara Harbour Bridge, the now Demerara Harbour Bridge. We changed out Span 9. And remember, it was supposed to take 7 days. We did it in record time, get everybody moving. More traffic is in the river these days. So we had a few more accidents than we ever recorded. Sadly, we're getting that managed in terms of the river pilots and all the safety mechanisms to keep that going. But the probability increases when you're doing more. And that's an understanding that people need to appreciate.
Yeah. Minister, I want to turn our attention a little bit. We spoke extensively about quantity. I want us to talk a little bit about quality. How has government been placing intense focus on when these roads are built in ensuring that the quality of these roads are maintained too?
Well, there are 3 things that we would have done. Number 1, participation of citizens in the management and looking to see what's happening in their communities. Government's policy is once a project is taking place in a community, the on-price bill of quantities is given to that community. So people could sit and look. If the crusher run is supposed to be 6 inches, they could check it and see if it's 4 or if it is 7. So the citizens' participation, citizens' engagement has become much stronger. Number 2, the monitoring and evaluation mechanism at the ministry has been escalated to a next level. Testing, both independent labs as well as the ministry lab, has been very well equipped, and we've been doing testings and all the rest of it. More robust project management by our engineers. And we also got to deal with the fact that scrutiny, because of the era of social media, is also helping us. So if a man wants to paint an old board and call it new, somebody is there to send it down and we're going to get it fixed. Because we still do have those who are trying to cut corners, make up money, and all the rest of it, that damages the image of the collective. But by and large, when communities are involved in project development, they ensure that they get value. And that is the fever, if you want me to find a proper word, that is the fever that exists in communities. I recall communities call me and says, Minister, the material that they use in the street is inferior. And I say, how you know that? They says, I saw what they do over the other street. And look what they put in the street. When you get down there with the engineers, of course, there were different designs because of the soil content and the compaction as compared to what is happening over there, where people's eyes are open and they're demanding their quality. We've had to have some dismissals, and people would have had to go home for cheating the system in terms of our own staff. And I did tell all of the engineers and the clerk of works, you work for the government. And if we find you working for the contractor, we'll make it easier for you to stay with the contractor. We'll just allow you to be transferred smoothly over to the contractor. So I think people understand that very carefully. We are peer reviewing each other's work, and this is very important for me to get out here today. Engineers' work at the ministry is being peer reviewed. So when you put up a bill of quantity that says it needs $23 million to build this bridge, other engineers are looking at it to peer review to see if you're putting in any fat, to ensure that we get value for money, and to make sure we're not making mistakes. So there are various layers of accountability that is taking place. And the truth about it, everything hasn't been perfect, but I'm telling you, it has been far, far better than what it used to be before.
Yeah. Minister, as we wrap up our conversation for today, we've heard a lot of talk too from government about Vision 2030 and what that will look like. So far, 4 years have gone by. Looking to the future now, can you say that your ministry, your sector, is playing its role in the collective of Guyana achieving that vision 2030?
Definitely. Definitely. We have to build out resilient infrastructure in keeping with what's happening around the world. You would have seen us just gone up for expressions of interest for the new charity wharf. We're getting ready to come out with an expression of interest for the bridge across the Berbice River. Similar high-span bridge across the Berbice River. We're getting out to come out with an expression of interest for new cultural market at Palmyra. We're getting ready. We just came out with an expression of interest for 100,000 street lights. 100,000 street lights. The bids is being advertised. It's closing soon. People could bid for that. That is to deal with the security issues. We are looking at how we should reconfigure the Perica market, the Perica Stelling, which is a main hub of river transportation in Guyana. That's where all our major vessels dock. And we have to also prepare for the Caribbean vessels that will come to deal with our food security issues and the rest of it. We got to start preparing for yachts and tourist boats and cruise liners and everything else that is coming in. As a matter of fact, Cabinet has mandated me to lead a team of Cabinet ministers to look at the future of water transport. I didn't want to talk too much about the airport, but our vision 2030 and beyond will see us having a Terminal B. And we have already signed memorandums of understanding with two international partners, both Manchester and out of the DR, to help us to start talking about Terminal B. We have to be able to put in place food processing facilities around the airport to ensure we are meeting all the sanitary and phytosanitary conditions for exports. We took an airport, and you see what we have now. Same contractor who reduced the size and the footprint of the airport, we took over with the same contractor says we're not accepting it like that. We're now able to take in Code D and Code E aircraft. You can see the amount of other airlines that have been added. The volume of traffic, the volume of handling cargo significantly increased. The airport must become a hub of transportation between Guyana, the Caribbean, and the South America. We want to bring in more planes to the long haul. We have more airlines operating out of Guyana now than before. So when we talk about 2030, we have to talk in connection with the smart classrooms and new avenues for learning. We have to bring into focus the new medical facilities, regional hospitals that are being built out, telemedicine in the far-flung regions, providing internet connectivity to the hinterland communities. I just came out of Region 8 with Minister Pauline Sukai, and we are preparing to do the road that will link Region 8 and 9, Karasabai all the way into Monkey Mountain, through Yoron-Paro. That important link, while we're doing the road from Linden going to Lethem, Region 8 and Region 9 still needs to be connected. We were using the villages in Region 8 to build the roads to connect village to village. I've just gone through there for 3 days doing the measurements and looking. We're looking at, we have to start putting in some equipment to enhance the connectivity, because the man-dozers and the woman-dozers have done what they can do. Pickaxe, shovel, throw bricks. Now you have to get the machines and bring it up to the next level. 2030 is exciting. I think probably we've started looking different in 2030. So putting in the new hotels that are being built, making Guyana a conference hub, sports tourism with stadiums in various parts of the country, a deep water harbor out in the Berbice, getting the Quarantine River Bridge between Guyana and Suriname completed, a new highway from Palmyra all the way through to Molson Creek. Vision 2030 and beyond.
Minister, I want to thank you so much for spending the last few minutes detailing the work of the Ministry of Public Works in the last 4 years. Thank you so much.
Well, let me just take this opportunity to thank the people of Guyana for giving me the opportunity to serve, because we see ourselves as servants of the people. We came to office to serve you, and we thank you for the opportunity that for the last 4 years that we were able to serve. Forgive us where we didn't get everything right, but you know our heart is in the right place, because the PPPC is good for Guyana.
Good for Guyana. Thank you so much, Minister. You've heard from the Minister of Public Works, Bishop Juan Edghill, detailing and discussing as we continue to have this conversation about the 4th anniversary under the theme, The Journey to Prosperity for All. My name is Juan Gill, and I'm saying goodbye for now.
The Journey to Prosperity for All, celebrating the 4th anniversary of the PPPC's government.